Welcome back, everybody. My name is Sean. Thank you for stopping by. We are in the basement today. If you've watched any of the other videos, they take place out in the garage, but it is Christmas time, as you can see by these lights. And we're going to do another project because it's cold outside and I want to do something. So, do you remember that build with the electric mini bike? Yeah, that one right there. Well, it was fun and all, but it was too slow for my liking. Now, I'm 6 foot and about 200 pounds, so it's a little slow for me, but it got going. In any case, we're going to take all of that material. I tore down the mini bike, I took off the motors, I took off all the parts. We're going to take that and throw it into this guy. And this is Power Wheels toy for my cousin's daughter, as it's kind of a little bit of a surprise. So I'll have to finish this before I post these on YouTube because they might watch. In any case, I bought this at a garage sale, I think for 10 bucks. I was going to use it to build a Power Wheels racing series kind of thing, but I decided not to do that because I have a bunch of other projects going on. So we're going to use the chassis, we're going to reuse some of the components, and we're going to slap on all the parts. I'm going to name this Project Phoenix because we're taking all the parts from the mini bike and we're kind of, from the ashes of that project, we're going to build a new project. So we're going to call this Project Phoenix. So, it's a bit messy over here, and I do have some truck parts intermingled here, but we have the same two motors there. We got the chain drives. These are actually fabricated kind of by me. These were from the mini bike wheels, and I'll show you some stuff about that in a bit. We got the 6 batteries and the mini bike seat, which is going to act as a backrest. Of course, we have the charger, plug into the charger. We got these really cool lights. They're also buttons, so I don't know if I'll make them do something like that, but we'll throw those on there as well. Some electrical bits, whatever, motor controllers, splitters, all that sort of stuff. Now, the donor car that we have here is a little worse for wear. I gotta clean it up still, but it's in the right shape. It's in good shape, good enough shape to build that stuff with anyway. Pulled out the seat, there's a few bars on the back here, pedals, electronics. I pulled it all out, took the wheels off, and there's just tires everywhere right now, and we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I had to do a couple things first to get it possibly running, and that's what we're going to cover today. First thing we're going to do is make sure that we can have a drive axle. You could go online, I don't know, some go-kart place and punch in go-kart live axle, go-kart rear live axle, whatever. Those kits are usually 150, 200 bucks, and I did not want to do that because I want to keep this cheap. I want to make it fun, and I want to do it myself. So what I ended up doing is scrounging through my garage, and in my little scrap pile, I had this 1-inch tube, and never mind the PVC on the end, we'll get into that in a bit, but this 1-inch tube is going to allow me to drill through it and make sure that everything is mounted on the axle. Typically, when you have a live axle like this, and if you get it from a go-kart place, stuff's going to be welded on there. I don't have a welder, so I'm going to do it this way instead. Alright, we also have some pillow block bearings for the rear axle. We're going to start with that today. And they're a little heavy duty for what we need, but they're going to be good anyway. They have a bearing in the inside that'll allow the shaft to rotate. They also have a few mounting holes that are going to go on a frame that I've yet to make. And of course they got a little grease spinning on top if you want to grease them. But what we're going to do is we're going to have the shaft run through these bearings. It'll allow them to rotate, and it'll also support the weight of the vehicle. Now, I did have a little bit of trouble with these bearings. They were 1-inch inner diameter, and that pipe was 1-inch outer diameter, so I had to grind these down a little bit and grind down the outer of that shaft there, make sure they fit. I'm going to have to do a little more of that because it fits, but it's a little tight still, which doesn't really matter. Once it's in, it doesn't have to go out. So that'll take a little bit extra work, and it'll kind of look something like this. I've been doing it on the Dremel, and it shoots sparks everywhere, so got to be safety first. Make sure you got your ventilator, wear some eye protection there, and you'll be good to go. Alright, so now that we have the axle kind of figured out, it's at least supported, and we'll get to how we're going to mount all of this stuff to the axle in a little bit, but basically we're just going to drill through. Let's get to how we made these little hubs with the sprocket on them. So basically this was inside of this tire. These were the mini bike tires, nice and small and rubber and air-filled, so they were pretty comfy, but I wanted to use the original tires from the Power Wheels because I think they look better, and you know, they're not as durable, but we'll be able to swap them out based on the screw-in design, so we'll take a look at that in a second. But basically what we had to do is first remove the center hub, and this was originally not bolted to this little flange piece. We used to have this guy threaded on the end, and all this is a ratcheting hub, so it'll go one way but not the other way, kind of like a rear tire on your bike. But I didn't want to use this because I want to have this thing be able to go in reverse, and if we want to go in reverse, then we can't use that because it won't power the shaft in reverse, right? So I took that off, removed the center of everything from, remove this from the center of the tire. Don't need really these anymore. And then I measured out and drilled some holes in the flange. There were some holes that were too small, so I had to make too small circular wise. I had to enlarge the radius to fit on the sprocket, but it works well. And the best part is, because we had dual motors on the mini bike, we still have dual motors. We have now dual drives here. Same two chains and all that. So let me pull you over and get the shaft all set up inside of here so we can kind of see what we're looking at. Alright, so I've removed the top from the bottom. It's really just two halves, so we get the black top and the yellow bottom. And we can kind of see back where the motors used to be when this was a properly built Power Wheels. For those of you that don't know, Power Wheels usually just have two motors or one, and they just kind of sit right here and bolt right onto the wheel. But there's a couple problems with that. Number one, I don't have those motors anymore. And number two, the Power Wheels wheels themselves, we're not going to look at that one because it's modified. The Power Wheels wheels themselves are usually driven by this little flange thing. On the motors that come with it, there's a little hub that has little slots that go and grip in each one of these four little indents or embossments there. Now, I don't want to do that because that's kind of a weak way to drive something, and also I want to be able to mount this onto this 1-inch shaft, and so clearly that's not going to work. It's a little small, so we gotta do some finagling with that, and we'll cover that in just a minute. But taking a look at the gears here, so they're just going to slide on the shaft like this. That's a pretty tight fit between the outer diameter of this 1-inch pipe and the inner diameter of this hub. And then I'll just drill straight through. We'll go through the outer sleeve, through this shaft, and then out the other side, and it'll bolt it right in that spot. Now, there are these convenient cutouts already in the plastic, right where I want these gears to go. So, zoom out a little bit, and we're gonna have the motors somewhere up, kind of maybe on these square bits. I gotta build some mounts yet, but that'll turn. We got a shaft out this side, we got a shaft out the other side. We'll slap on some wheels. Alright, so now we have to tackle the wheels, how we're going to mount the wheels to the shaft, because we can't just slap this one. This is the original, remember, with the little notches here. Can't put that on to the 1-inch shaft. The hole's too small, there's not anything, can't mount a gear or anything on this. So I had to figure out some way to attach this to that shaft. Now luckily I had a bunch of other, I guess they were wheel barrel wheels. Goodness gracious, that was hard to say. Laying around, and all I did is I took the hubs off of them because they were, they had tubes, I guess, but the hubs were just 2-part hubs. You could unscrew them, they come apart, and so we got one half on this side, one half on this side. Now the perks of using the 2-part hub is that I could sandwich this plastic wheel. They are hollow, but when you sandwich between the plastic, you're creating some extra support there. It's okay. So what I did, all I did really, is take one half the hub, check out the bolt pattern in there. I made some bolt holes. I drilled some bolt holes on the drill press all the way through either side, and then I got some threaded rod because I couldn't find bolts that were long enough, and cut it to size. And I just had nuts on this side and some nuts on this side. Now, because of the fact that this part is a little recessed down in there, there's supposed to be a little dish added for, I don't know, looks. I did have to build a little tiny wooden piece that fits down in there, and it basically separates the base of this half of the hub from that indent. Because this does not fit perfectly down in that indent, I wanted to bump it out a little bit, give it some more support. So I'm gonna have to redo this one because you can see there's a crack in there, but and I want to paint them black anyway. In any case, the reason we needed to use this is because of this hole. And this hole used to have a bearing in it. I put this in a vise, put a screwdriver in there and started whacking away, and the bearing came right out. Now the reason we did this is because this is about 1 inch. So we take our inch shaft here. This will then go in, and you can see it's a little loose, and that is the reason why we have this PVC pipe on there. It's just, I think it's a 3/4 inch ID PVC coupler is all it is. It's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, and it just takes up that gap. Here's the inner diameter of the, the outer diameter of the shaft, and then the outer diameter of the PVC, and that just fits right in there. And then all of a sudden, it's pretty snug. So what that's going to allow us to do is drill a hole straight through the side of that little teeny tiny little shaft there. Right here, we're just going to go right through, out the other side. That'll allow us to put a bolt in. I'm going to do the same thing on the PVC and the drive shaft, so that when we go in, we can slide a bolt through, and that effectively ties this hub and this wheel to the shaft, which of course then is going to be tied to drive sprocket. So when this also has a bolt going through, this is going to turn with the shaft. This is going to be turned by those electric motors. As the shaft turns, it is now bolted straight through this hub. So when this turns, the wheel's going to turn. And that is how we're going to mount it together, because I don't have a welder. Another cool point to make about this hollow axle shaft that's going to work with some wheelbarrow wheels is that if you wanted to step it up, you could go and get these actual wheelbarrow wheels, punch out the bearings, which is what I've done for these two, and they're going to work on the same principle. We got the 1 inch shaft with the spacer. We'll just go ahead and put that down in there. We'll get this guy up. Right like that, and bam, axle. And it works on the same principle. You're going to drill through the shaft right into these little hub bits there, and you'll be ready to go. And these are much stronger because they're steel hubs with air wheels, but they don't look quite as good on the actual Power Wheels. I may make, since I have this axle and these two wheels, I may try to make some sort of little trailer. We'll see if that gets done or not. All right, now I know what some of you are thinking. Why would I use a hollow shaft for a drivetrain? It's also going to be supporting the weight of the vehicle, because that's weaker than a solid shaft, right? Here's the thing. I'm not building it for me. I'm building it for my cousin's daughter. She's like 3, maybe 10 pounds. I don't know how kids weigh. But just to prove the fact that this is really strong, and the axle's actually right now too long. I got to cut it down, so it's going to be a little stronger. But I'm going to do a little demonstration for you. I'm 200 pounds. I'm going to stand on this axle with the wheels that I've drilled through that are plastic. They're going to hold me. So check it out. All right, here we are. We got the shaft. We got our plastic PVC spacers on either end. There we go. Nice and strong on there now. We got 2 of the hubbed plastic wheels. We'll make our little axle. Yeah, and here we go. Whoa. There we go. Yeah, see, hold me just fine. Even stand on it, but I don't have that good balance, so. Ah! So there you have it. I mean, that's pretty darn strong. It is a steel axle, steel shaft, so still, it's gonna work. Anyways, that's all we have going on today for this, and this will be part 1. There's probably gonna be a lot of parts because I have a lot of work left to do, but stay tuned and hope you enjoy.